What's good, people? I'm back. Hold on. Let's do this again. What's good, people? I'm back, and today I will be talking about the most chinniest legs in MMA. What does that even mean? It means you have chinny legs, and if you can see the picture on my screen, it's a comment from Bedtime MMA's video. I was watching his video as one usually does, and obviously I saw that comment, and that really piqued my interest. Not because I have stolen tier list ideas from comments before, but this idea has been stuck in my head since the return of Conor McGregor. Since Conor McGregor fight week, this idea has been stuck in my head, and this idea of chinny legs and no knees kind of tier list that I did make, they're kind of very similar. They kind of go hand in hand. And I was thinking, they're kind of similar, so I won't make that one. And then I saw that comment, and I'm like, dude, I was already thinking about it, and the people want it, so let's give the people what they want. Because people pay per view. Oh, fuck. What am I even doing? Uh, yeah, so let's give the people what they want and what they deserve. But first, let me clarify the criteria for this tier list. Now, this tier list is not necessarily about leg breaks or whatever and stuff like that. If you have leg injuries, that doesn't mean you have chinny legs. If your knee popped, or if you have some knee surgeries, or maybe your foot broken a fight, that doesn't mean you have chinny legs. Being chinny means you have no chin. Having chinny legs means your legs have no durability. Now, obviously, injuries go into that, but usually when you see people like Anderson Silva kind of being brought up into these conversations where they're like, "Oh yeah, his foot broke," so his foot didn't break off of a fucking kick. His foot didn't, like, in his career after that point, or before that point he definitely didn't have any problems with checking kicks, or leg kicks weren't necessarily a thing that were to be used against him. After that point, people tried, but it didn't really do much. Chinny legs means you have no durability on your legs, which means you can which what the horrible pronunciation, which means you cannot take leg kicks for shit. Which means pretty much you kick me in my leg, I go and my leg buckles. That's pretty much what that means. The thing about chinny legs, it's different than a chin, but it's kind of similar. Obviously, the main difference is you can kind of struggle through it. You can kind of just struggle through the pain. What I mean by that is, if you get hit in your leg over and over again, your leg starts to turn red and there's swelling and stuff, you can kind of just take it. You can kind of endure the pain a little bit, and after a certain point, your leg just can't take it anymore. That's just how it is. After a certain point, your legs just can't take it anymore. And obviously, some people have really durable legs. Some people don't have really durable legs. One example of this is Tony Ferguson, but I will not be including him in this tier list because this tier list is about chinny legs. So now that I've clarified what it means to have chinny legs, let me clarify the criteria for this tier list, right? If you have foot injuries or stuff like that, that doesn't count. What I mean is, there's two major factors going into it. Obviously, the first one being the more important factor, that being how many leg kicks can you take? Like, what is your leg kick taking ability? Like, do you just crumble after a couple leg kicks, or is your leg fine after taking a couple leg kicks? And the second one is, do you check leg kicks or not? That's the less important part of this criterion, because this is about chinny legs, not about leg kick defense, right? But I have to include it because it's such a part of like legs being chinny, right? So obviously the more important part is how many kicks can you take and what's your durability on your legs. But obviously there's also a second part in the criterion, that how many leg kicks do you check? Do you just not check leg kicks at all or whatever and stuff? Yeah, okay. I think I've explained the criterion enough. Let's get into the tiers and what these tiers mean. Obviously, the lowest tier on this tier list is not chinny. Not chinny means your legs are not chinny. The tier above that is doesn't check kicks. What that basically means is your legs aren't necessarily bad, or you don't necessarily have non-durable legs or very horrible legs like that can't take any leg kicks. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It means you just don't necessarily check leg kicks that often. And because you don't check leg kicks that often, they can kind of cause more damage to you. But if you just learn leg kick defense, it wouldn't cause you as many problems. You could be in the not chinny tier if you just had a better leg kick defense. Then the tier above that is major weakness. The leg kicks against this fighter are gonna be a major weakness. When you are game planning for this fighter, if you're a fighter fighting this fighter, in your game plan, you have to include leg kicks. That's what that means. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And above that is a glass leg. That's also pretty self-explanatory. Let's get started with the tier list. Let's just start off with the glass leg tier pick. I'm sorry, man. I have to do it. I have to do it. I have no choice. I have to do it, man. We have Jack Della Maddalena. Of course, he's going in the glass leg tier. I think we know why. I mean, first of all, he's a boxer. He's always had that leg kick problem. I think it was really exposed by Makhachev, and Carlos Pratis just completely took advantage of it. Makhachev knew that his leg kick was gonna be there, and he landed pretty good leg kicks on JDM. CP, but the thing about Makhachev is not the kind of guy that lands leg kicks and buckles your leg, right? CP is that guy that will leg kick TKO you. That's pretty much what he did. That's pretty much what he did. There were times in that fight before the finishing sequence where he could have just leg kick TKO JDM. That's pretty much what he did in that fight. You can see the fucking pain in JDM's face, the face Jack is making as he's falling down from those fucking calf kicks. Oh fuck. Oh, don't make me remember that. As happy as I was to see my boy CP win, it was just sad to see Della go out like that. Even if Della went out cold, that would have been better than seeing his leg buckle that horribly. But obviously, it's never gonna be the same. Anytime somebody fights him, they're gonna target that leg. And it's not necessarily even the fact that it's his legs are that chinny. I think Jack Della might be the worst of the worst here, right? That's what it means to be in the glass leg tier list. Because glass leg tier, sorry. Because not only does he not check leg kicks, bad. Two, he fights in a boxing heavy stance, and that stance is very susceptible to leg kicks. So we have two factors that go into it, and three, his legs are curved. First of all, his legs were kind of always a little bit chinny, and after that CP fight, it's hard to believe that his legs will ever be in the same condition, or somebody just won't try to bomb a leg kick on him and it won't crumble him, right? It's hard to see that happening. It's hard to see that like not happening. That he can just eat a straight up calf kick to his leg and just not react at all and just take it. That's very unlikely in the near future. So yeah, all of these three factors. Not only does he have chinny legs, he doesn't check leg kicks, and on top of that, he fights in a boxing stance. All these things together put him in a really bad situation. He doesn't necessarily have the most chinny legs. He doesn't necessarily have the worst leg kick defense. He necessarily doesn't have the worst boxing style. But all of these combined at the same time put him at such a bad spot, dude. And yeah, that's why JDM will be going in the glass leg tier. I mean, do I even need to explain to you? If you guys saw the CP fight, you guys saw the Makhachev fight. I understand Makhachev fight. In the Makhachev fight, he got grapple fucked. But that's not the only thing that happened. Makhachev really exposed the calf kick. And yeah, it's never gonna be the same for JDM, man. It's never gonna be the same. Yeah, enough about the sad JDM rant. Let's move on to the next part on this tier list. Very similar to JDM, we have Ilya Toptorio. The thing about Toptorio is you gotta understand, right? Ilya Topuria, I'm putting Ilya Topuria in the doesn't check kicks tier. Well, For one, we don't have enough evidence that his legs are chinny. We have seen him take leg kicks, and we have seen him kind of eat leg kicks. Now the thing about Ilya Tuporia is this motherfucker does not check leg kicks. Ilya Tuporia obviously fights in a very boxing heavy stance. His lead leg is there to be kicked, and obviously he tried to combat that in the Justin Gaethje fight. That completely backfired. And the one time Justin Gaethje did try to land a leg kick, he did get countered pretty horribly. But that's because that's fucking Justin Gaethje, and his leg kick can be seen coming from a mile away, and he doesn't know how to fucking set it up. If that was somebody like a decent, with somebody like if instead of Justin Gaethje, it was somebody with a decent leg kick, that would have landed, and they probably wouldn't have gotten countered because they would have had a better setup for that leg kick, and their leg kick would not have been so fucking telegraphed, right? And but he has fought people who do have some pretty good leg kicks. And obviously Max Holloway was able to use leg kicks against him. But we haven't really seen him be that susceptible to leg kicks. And because of a little bit of lack of evidence, right now, I think in the near future, Ilya Topuria might move up to, major weakness tier. Because I have this feeling that in the near future, we'll see people expose his fucking leg kick defense. The guy just doesn't know how to check leg kicks. It's just a fact. One day we'll see Ilya Topuria, become JDM. Possibly. Yeah, bruh. Ilya Topuria, man. This guy has so many weaknesses, yet so many people just don't exploit his weaknesses. Which is what? So, yeah, I'll put Ilya Topuria in the doesn't check kicks tier because he fucking doesn't. And yeah, let's go on to the next fighter on the tier list. We have Brandon Moreno. Brandon the Assassin Baby Moreno. Brandon can't check a fucking leg kick. Moreno. If you watch the first 3 rounds of his fight against Lonnie Kavanagh, this motherfucker from after the first 2 minutes, I'm not even fucking kidding. You can go and watch that fight. After the first 2 minutes, had a welt on his leg redder than a fucking tomato. This guy had a welt on his fucking calf more red than anime girl blushing, dude. I fucking kid you not, I have tomatoes that are less red than this guy's calf. Listen, Brandon Moreno, obviously, you guys might be seeing a pattern here that a lot of these guys fight in a very boxing heavy stance. Yeah, but it's not just that Brandon Moreno fights in a boxing heavy stance. Before that Lonnie Kavanagh fight, nobody really used leg kicks against him, right? After the Lonnie Kavanagh fight, you generally want me to believe nobody will ever throw leg kicks against him again. And I don't want to hear Brandon Moreno is washed. The guy is 32, 33 years of age. I don't think he's fucking washed at all. I just think he never developed good leg kick defense. And I think going forward, yeah, it's over. He's fighting Joseph Morales. Joseph Morales doesn't really have a good leg kick game. I don't think he'll be able to exploit it, and Joseph Morales doesn't have enough fight IQ to kind of exploit it. He probably doesn't even know how to fucking set up a leg kick. But if he were to fight somebody with competent striking, it's over. It's over. I'm surprised this motherfucker was able to beat Steve Erceg. Steve Erceg, he's a very intelligent fighter. I think at that point in time, the leg kick defense was not exposed. But ever since that leg kick defense has been exposed, we know this motherfucker can't take a leg kick. Not only does he not check leg kicks, he can't take a leg kick. Bro, the fucking hematoma on his calf, holy shit, dude. Looked like a baboon's ass. I don't know why I had to bring up that comparison. Anyways, you guys get the point. I'm putting Brandon Moreno in the major weakness tier because it's a major weakness of his, and I think going forward that will be a major weakness of his. Next up, we have MVP Michael Venom Page. Michael, 3 strikes per round. Venom Page. I think he's fighting pretty soon. He has a fight booked. Not pretty soon. I think the fight is like a month or 2 away. He has a fight booked. He's fighting fucking some random bum, obviously. The thing about MVP is everybody talks about that MVP bladed stance, that karate stance, that hop in, hop out, that fucking he's constantly hopping and all that stuff, and that stance is susceptible. Like it's fucking not. First of all, that stance isn't necessarily susceptible to leg kicks. Yeah, obviously, if the stance isn't susceptible to leg kicks, the in and out movement kind of style that he has sort of is susceptible to leg kicks. Not really, kind of. Because if you time a leg kick perfectly as he's coming in, you can, get him down. And obviously, that's what happened in that one knockout loss he had in Bellator. That's pretty much what happened. And ever since then, people have this fucking notion that MVP has chinny legs or the leg kick is a weakness for MVP. No, it's fucking not. When has that ever happened again? Or when has that ever happened before or since? It has never happened. He has fought better competition in the UFC. That was a fucking fluke. Listen, I'm not the type of guy that calls fights flukes. But I'm like, no, no single fight is really a fluke. I don't. Okay, maybe I take that. I'll take that back. That wasn't really a fluke, but that was a one-time occurrence. MVP, if they were to rematch, knowing that he got TKO'd because he got leg kicked at the correct fucking moment, he would not make that same mistake twice, and he would beat him again in a rematch any day of the week. And ever since then, that hasn't happened. And you know, I think who was it? Fucking Douglas Lima, right? He kicked him in the leg, he fell over, he knocked him out, whatever. When has that ever happened again? Bro, people have tried. People have tried to replicate it, hasn't happened. And listen, the notion that MVP has chinny legs or is susceptible to leg kicks has died down. That kind of, notion has died down in the community and stuff, but it still exists. You try to break down an MVP file, and people are like, the leg kick man, the leg kick man. Unless you have picture perfect fucking timing, don't try to throw a leg kick against MVP. Like, okay, what I mean by that is, obviously you gotta throw leg kicks against MVP, but don't expect that what Douglas Lima did, you'll be able to do the same. Not in a million fucking years. I believe Douglas Lima, even without if that fight was to happen again, even without MVP knowing that he has a leg kick problem, he would probably win that fight. Because that was like, you have had so many fights, right? MVP has so many fights with the same fucking style. At some point in time, once in a while, he was gonna get leg kicked at the perfect fucking moment, right? And that's what happened. And he doesn't have chinny legs. And I don't really like the notion and that idea being thrown around that MVP has chinny legs. And so let's move on to the next fighter on the tier list. Next fighter on the tier list, we have Sean O'Malley. I'll be putting Sean O'Malley in the doesn't check kicks tier because, listen, the notion that this kind of idea that Sean O'Malley is susceptible to leg kicks is semi-true. Obviously, you want to leg kick Sean O'Malley, but you also don't want to become Ayman Zahabi. This motherfucker is Zahabo, dude. Zahabi came in with possibly one of the worst game plans I've ever fucking seen. What was the game plan? Let me ask Zahabi. Listen, Zahabi pretty much fell into the propaganda that Sean O'Malley has no leg defense or his legs are chinny. Dude, do you know how hard, like, you throw 100 leg kicks and then after you throw 100 leg kick, the 101st leg kick lands on that fucking nerve. And that's what Martin Vera did. I'm not saying it was a fluke. Martin Vera landed more leg kicks in that fight before and after, right? That's what he did. He fought very brilliantly. He fought very intelligently and targeted the leg. And at the end, his leg was compromised. And I think there was another fight where Sean O'Malley's leg was fucked. I don't know, it was off of leg kick or what. But his leg got fucked up. It was one of his early fights, right? These fights are very early on in his career. Since then, people have tried to replicate it, and people have been like, Sean O'Malley, man, leg kicks, man. He doesn't check leg kicks, man. You leg kicking him, he crumbles. When has that fucking happened? Never. With that being said, that definitely should be a part of our game plan, and that there should be a note taken that this motherfucker also does not check leg kicks. Listen, leg kicks aren't a weakness of his necessarily, but if he fought somebody with really good leg kicks and really good ability to set up leg kicks, this guy's fucked because he doesn't know how to check leg kicks. His legs aren't chinny. Listen, Yeah, might be slightly chinny. His legs might be slightly chinny, right? But I don't believe that his legs are so chinny to the point where I can put him in the same tier as Brandon Moraine. The main issue that he runs into is this guy does not fucking check leg kicks. Ayman Zahabo was landing so many leg kicks. And Ayman Zahabo didn't set a single leg kick. Didn't set up a single leg kick. I fucking want you to go back, watch that fight, and tell me how Ayman Zahabo set up at least one of the leg kicks. He just threw naked leg kicks. If you know anything about MMA, if you know anything about fighting in general, striking in general, you know not to throw leg kicks naked. You have to throw setup. You have to have a setup before that leg kick. What was Ayman Zahabi's leg kick setup, by the way? What was it? It was as existent as my girlfriend. It just wasn't there. So yeah, I'll be putting Sean O'Malley in the doesn't check kicks tier because it's not necessarily a weakness of his. Like if you're gonna game plan for him, you're like it's a big weakness of his that he doesn't check leg kicks. That's not really true. But he does also not check leg kicks, and that will probably get him in trouble. I don't see anybody ever getting him in trouble because of the leg kicks. For the first reason being, there's bigger fish to fry. Obviously, he's grappling his ass, so anybody trying to take advantage of a weakness will probably try to grapple fuck him. Second, there's nobody that really could take advantage of it, because there aren't people that are that tall and long to match O'Malley's range. The only person I can kind of think of in the bandweight division that can kind of take advantage of it is maybe Corey Sandhagen and Peyton Talbot. Other than those two guys, I don't think anybody can take advantage of that leg kick weakness. So I will be putting Sean O'Malley in the doesn't check kicks tier. Next fighter on this tier list, we have Josh Owen. I'll be putting Josh Owen in the same tier as O'Malley and Toptorio. Listen, me and Josh Owen might have a beef, because he dropped my boy Tatsuro Taira. But you know what? That's whatever. I'll let that slide. I won't let that bias come into play, right? The reason I'll be putting Josh Owen in the doesn't check leg kicks tier is because he fucking doesn't. Leg kicks aren't necessarily a weakness because he does have really strong legs, and we haven't really ever seen him get buckled by a leg kick per se. That hasn't really happened. But he does check leg kicks. Don't get that wrong. But you look at the stats and you're like, some of these guys are landing a lot of leg kicks on him. And obviously, it comes from that boxing stance. It's always going to be there. The leg is going to be there. But the reason I can't put him higher than doesn't check kicks tier, obviously he has a bit of a chinny leg. Like, you can definitely take advantage of that boxing stance that he has. Right? You can definitely take advantage of that. But the reason I can't put him any higher is because he does a very good job of when you are throwing leg kicks, he tries to counter you with straight shots. So you can't ever throw naked leg kicks against Josh Owen because his boxing is so good and his ability to counter you off of a leg kick is just so good that I was considering putting him in the not chinny tier, but I looked at some stats and I looked at some of his fights and I'm like, yeah, a lot of these people are landing a lot of leg kicks, and a lot of the people who are landing a lot of leg kicks on Josh Owen are also landing at a very high rate, right? They're landing at a very high percentage. They're landing at a very high accuracy. So it's a bit concerning, but it's not necessarily something you should be worried about if you're a Josh Owen Glazer or whatever. Yeah, pretty much the same thing as O'Malley, I guess. Not necessarily a weakness, but it is something definitely that should come into consideration, right? So I think, yeah, it's pretty fair to put Joshua Van in that tier. Next fighter on this tier list, we have shit. Conor McGregor. We have Conor McGregor. Fuck, let me do my Michael Chandler impression. Listen, dude, when I do my Michael Chandler impression, I fucking scream. And it's fucking 4 a.m. so I don't want to wake up my parents because I wanted to do a Michael Chandler fucking impression. But you know what? I'll go ahead. I'll try not to be too loud. Conor McGregor! You gotta come back and get your leg broken against somebody. So get your leg broken against me. Yeah, I'll be putting Conor McGregor in the major weakness tier. He doesn't necessarily have a glass chin. Maybe right now he does. But I think it's not necessarily because his leg is chinny per se. Like I said, the criteria doesn't necessarily include injuries and stuff like that. The reason his leg, I mean, leg kicks have always kind of been there against Holloway, especially ever since he moved up to lightweight. We have seen that happen time and time again. Like in that second Dustin Poirier fight, the leg kick got completely exposed, right? And after that, we never really saw anybody take advantage of it. And the reason people think Conor has such chinny legs is because of the leg injuries, which, they maybe play a role into that, but I think it's more so the fact that the guy just doesn't know how to take a leg kick. His legs, not only is his knee fucked, not only does this guy have a foot injury, his legs are also chinny as shit. This guy cannot take a fucking leg kick. What I'm trying to say is Conor McGregor has always had chinny legs. The leg kick has always been there against him, and more it also is there because of the stance he fights in. Obviously, that bladed stance always comes with the fucking leg kick problem, and also he does not know how to check a fucking leg kick. Now those two things are pre-existent, but the injuries on top of that just make it even worse. But I don't think he necessarily has a glass leg, if you get what I'm saying, right? You can land a couple leg kicks on him, right? It won't shatter his leg completely. Yeah, it will buckle him. It will. Dustin Poirier was landing really good leg kicks on him, right? That didn't do much damage to his leg necessarily. If you're in the glass chin tier, that pretty much means if I kick you in the leg like a couple times, 3-4 times, really good, like a pretty decent leg kick, not necessarily like fully wound up, fucking Jose Aldo kind of leg kick. I'm talking like a pretty normal, decent leg kick with decent amount of power behind it, and your leg buckles, or maybe if I land a couple hard leg kicks on you, you go down. That's what it means to be in the glass leg tier, and I think we can all agree Conor McGregor is in that. He's borderline there, but from what we have seen, I just can't put him in the glass leg tier. Not enough evidence yet, yet. But maybe if he does decide to fight in the future and actually fights instead of just blowing out his knee, maybe we'll see the whole leg kick defense thing kind of come into play, and we might actually be able to see if his legs are actually chinny or not. Like, well, his legs are definitely chinny, we know that, but to what extent, kind of? You know what I'm saying? So let's move on to the next fighter on this tier list. We have, I had to put him after I put Conor McGregor on the tier list. I had to, man. I just had to put him after Conor McGregor on this tier list. Conor McGregor! You gotta come back and fight somebody! We have Michael, no fight IQ Chandler. Michael, I'm gonna slide off your back, Chandler. Listen, dude, for fuck's sake. Michael Chandler, if you have seen the stance he fights in, you can obviously tell the guy's susceptible to leg kicks. I'll be putting him in the doesn't check leg kicks tier because he doesn't. The thing about Michael Chandler is he's so bad that people don't even take advantage of his leg kicks. And what I'm trying to say is, imagine Rufy, right? His overall striking defense is so horrible. Why would you kick him at the leg? Why would you? When you can kick him in the head, why would you kick him at the leg? If you can knock him out by kicking him out, if you can knock him out by kicking him on the head, why would you kick him on the leg? Let's be fucking honest, he does not have good leg kick defense. His legs aren't necessarily chinny. He's a big, strong fucking guy, and he can kind of take some pretty hard leg kicks. His legs don't necessarily buckle from like every third leg kick, and he took some good leg kicks against Oliveira in both of the fights combined. But his legs aren't necessarily chinny to the level of some of the people in the tiers higher above him. But the motherfucker does not know how to check a leg kick. But he's so fucking atrocious that they don't even try. They're like, I could just beat this guy 3 different ways. Why would I throw a leg kick? Why would I try to leg kick TKO him? Why would I try to take advantage of his leg kick deficiency when I can take advantage of pretty much every other aspect of his game? So that's why, yeah, Muck Chandler is in the doesn't check kicks tier because he fucking doesn't. Next fighter on the tier list, we have obviously the guy in the thumbnail, Big Ank. or as I like to call him, Small Hank, because to be fair, he is kind of small for 205. Like you compare him to other 205ers, he does look kind of small. Maybe that's why he has so much speed. And I covered this in my fucking breakdown as well, which only got like 5 fucking views. Fuck you guys. Uh, anyways, uh, where was I? Small Hank, right? I think we've all seen the Jan Blachowicz fight. If you haven't even seen the Jan Blachowicz fight, you have seen the clips, right? I'll be putting Uncle Ive in the major weakness tier. I know ever since that Jan Blachowicz fight, it hasn't really happened, but I have a counter argument. I have a counter argument to that. In the second Pereira fight, which is his most latest fight, Pereira did pretty much what Jan Blachowicz did. He went shin to shin with him like 3 times, 2 times. He got him to switch into orthodox, and then he could land that big fucking power shot of his. Pereira did pretty much what Jan Blachowicz did. He went shin to shin, and it worked. He was able to make Ankalaev switch into orthodox. So his legs being chinny is still a factor. Jan Blachowicz genuinely beat the fuck out of him, mostly because Ankalaev's legs were compromised. I think Jan Blachowicz would have won that fight if he didn't leg kick Ankalaev. Now here's why. Here's why. Hear me out. Hear me out. If Ankalaev's legs weren't so fucking compromised, he wouldn't have shot a takedown. He wouldn't have that urgency of shooting a takedown. And if he didn't have an urgency of shooting a takedown, the fight was pretty close on the feet. Jan Blachowicz won round 2 pretty clearly, pretty nicely, dominantly as well. He was landing some nice shots on the feet. Yeah, he was a tad bit behind Ankalaev, but he was able to win a round pretty clearly. So, and the rounds that he did lose on the feet, that were rounds 1 and 3, they were pretty close rounds. And the round 4 and 5 were just Ankalaev grapple fucking Jan Blachowicz, right? So if Jan didn't leg kick him, he could have won that fight instead of that being a draw. Which, I scored it for Ankalaev 3-2. I don't think that was a fucking 10-8 round. Even though I'm generous with my 10-8 rounds. But that's a side tangent, right? But when we talk about Ankalaev's legs being chinny, we have to talk about fucking the Jan Blachowicz fight, right? Only, I think, if you're fighting Ankalaev and you don't throw a single leg kick, you either have to be lobotomized, you either have to be mentally disabled, or you have to be Michael Chandler, right? Because other than those 3 options, what other excuse do you have for being that dumb? You have to throw leg kicks against Magomed Ankalaev. That is the one big weakness that he has. That is the one glaring hole that he has in his game. And listen, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, Ankalaev. At first, I was of the mind that Ankalaev doesn't really have chinny legs, dude. I've studied tape on Ankalaev. I've watched Ankalaev fights. I just analyzed Ankalaev's game pretty much. Fuck. I'm like, the leg kick problem wasn't really there before the Blachowicz fight, and after the Blachowicz fight, it wasn't really there. And then I saw the second Pereira fight, and I thought to myself, he got knocked out because he switched into orthodox. Not only because he switched into orthodox, it was that and the fact that he got backed up to the fence so horribly. But he was forced to switch into orthodox, and that just leads me to believe the leg kick problem is still there. And if you go shin to shin with him, it's just bad. And Ankalaev has a very weird kind of chinny legs. Because if you try to attack him from the outside and you try to hit his calf, it doesn't do that much damage. But if you try to attack his shin, somehow this guy crumbles. This guy's legs are chinny in the opposite way, which doesn't really make sense. But for him, that's even worse because he fights southpaw. So in open stance, that outside calf kick is harder to throw and harder to get on your opponent than the inside calf kick. But the problem with the inside calf kick, it lands on the shin. So usually you try to throw that outside calf kick, but that's problematic in an open stance. But against Ankalaev, you want to throw that inside calf kick because his leg is compromised from the shin side, not from the calf side. So yeah, I'll be putting Ankalaev in the major weakness tier. I don't think it's to the point of somebody like JDM. Barely. I think there's an argument to be made for Ankalaev to be put in the chinny legs tier list, but to be put in the fucking glass leg tier. But since the Jan Blachowicz fight, nobody has really able to buckle Nobody has been really able to buckle Ankalaev. You know what I mean? JDM, we've seen this on multiple occasions. His leg just completely give out. Like in the last two of his fights, we have seen his leg get fucked over. That's what I mean. Ankalaev, that was one fight, and that was a very weird fight as well. So I'll be putting Ankalaev in the major weakness tier. Next fight on this tier list, we have You Hit Me, I'm Still Coming. I'm coming all night long. Please don't back up. Please don't back up. We have Kamaru, no knees, Usman. Listen, the no knees problem is bad enough. How do you not check leg kicks? Listen, Kamaru Usman, this motherfucker, not only does he have absolutely nothing for knees, his kneecaps are just not there. This guy is so horrible because not only does he have no knees, he has no leg defense. Can you imagine those two factors combining? And I'm just surprised nobody has ever fucking taken horrible advantage of that and tried to like TKO him. To be fair, his last couple opponents aren't the type of guys that would try to do that. DDP did land some good leg kicks against Usman, and yeah, it was. To be fair, DDP obviously didn't need to land as many leg kicks on Usman. You know, usually when you're not having as much success on the feet, that's when you're landing the leg kick to kind of set up everything else and stuff like that. You're trying to get like a slight advantage on your opponent, like you're trying to compromise their movement and stuff like that. Why would you need to compromise Kamaru Usman's movement when his movement is already compromised? That's just overkill at that point, and that's why I don't. That's why I think people don't really throw leg kicks on Kamaru Usman that much, even though he does not check leg kicks at all. Like he checks leg kicks once in a while, right? Once in 3 business days, he checks one leg kick. Yeah, dude, I have no other words for Marty Usman. I fucking hate him. Listen, I don't know why I hate Marty Usman. I think I know why I hate Marty Usman. I'll make a video on Marty Usman as to why I hate him sometime in the future. Before that, I might start doing this series where every week I'll be like hating on one fighter or like one personality of the sport. Yeah, that'd be kind of fun actually. Because I'm a D1 hater, if you know what I mean. I will have to do that for Marty Usman. But if you're being objective and we take my hater out of this, I think doesn't check like kicks tier is fair for Kamaru Usman. Next fighter on this tier list, we have It Is What It Is, brother. I don't fucking check leg kicks, brother. Brother. We gonna find out Saturday night, brother. What? My legs are chinny. We gonna find out Saturday night. We gonna find out Saturday night. Maximus Holloway, Max Blessed Holloway, Max I can't grapple for shit Holloway, Max no takedown defense, 100% submission defense Holloway. Bro, this guy, obviously, I'll be putting Max Holloway in the not chinny tier because for one, is okay. Let's be fair. His leg defense isn't the best, but compared to other guys on the tier list, it's phenomenal. Like, dude, you have fucking Brandon Moreno on the tier list. If you compare Brandon Moreno and Max Holloway's leg kick defense, it's not even comparable. They're in completely different worlds. They're in completely different realms. And yeah, dude, Max Holloway just this notion that leg kicks are weakness of him is true, but against who though? Like your average fighter isn't gonna be landing leg kicks on Max Holloway, right? I think Max Holloway isn't necessarily chinny to his leg. Like, yeah, the leg kick is open, but for one, Max Holloway is so light on his feet, it doesn't really even matter. Like it's so hard to land a good leg kick on Holloway. Only a few people have been able to do it, and since Volkanovski took advantage of that fucking leg kick, he has kind of fixed that hole in his game. It has gotten better. Like Charles Oliveira was the one guy that I was kind of worried that would actually land the leg kick on Holloway. Obviously I was worried that Justin Gaethje might be able to land kicks on Holloway as well, but we all know how Justin Gaethje throws leg kicks, and you can see that shit coming from a mile away. So that's why I just knew that shit was never gonna land. But I was like, Charles might be the guy to land leg kicks on him, but obviously he didn't have to. Why the fuck would you try to land leg kicks and at range and run the risk of getting countered on the feet when you can just fucking take him down? You know, Ila Topore was able to land really good leg kicks on Holloway, even though he landed like fucking 3 in the whole fight. I do believe it is something of a weakness, but I don't think it's enough to the point where he just doesn't check leg kicks at all. Right? He has good leg defense. His legs aren't chinny. He the reason I put him in the not chinny tier is obviously he doesn't have like a iron leg, right? You know, he's not one of these guys that have 100% leg kick defense. Like his leg kick defense is fucking awesome, and his leg durability is also awesome. He's just average, and that's what I mean by not chinny, right? There's chinny, there's not chinny, which is average, and then there's iron chin. That's like when you're talking about normal people and their chin, actual chin, like the jaw, and their ability to take punches to the head. That's how it kind of goes. That's what I mean by not chinny. Not chinny doesn't necessarily mean that your leg is made out of fucking titanium, right? It doesn't necessarily mean your leg has to be made out of vibranium and you check every single leg kick. It just means you're average at checking leg kicks. And the reason this tier exists is because people think you're below average at checking leg kicks, and they actually think you have kind of a weakness to leg kicks, while you really don't. You're like the average fighter. It's not, you get what I'm saying, right? So I'll be putting Max Holloway in the not chinny tier. Next fighter on this tier list, we have Junior Tafa. I think you guys, I don't know if you guys saw Junior Tafa's last fight. He got leg kick TKO'd by Ivo Barniewski in like a minute. Obviously, that weakness was there going into that fight. I think people even talked about it in breakdowns. I don't know if I talked about it. But obviously, the fucking commentary was talking about Junior Tafa's leg kick weakness right before the fight. And not only is this motherfucker chinny to leg kick, he also doesn't know how to check them. Listen, if you're chinny to leg kicks, but you can actually check them, what's the problem, right? There's no problem there. But if you're gonna have chinny legs, and then you're gonna not check leg kicks, why even fight at that point, right? As for Junior Tafa, I mean, it's fucking Junior Tafa. Do you need more words? It's fucking Junior Tafa, bro. Yeah, I'll be putting Junior Tafa in the major weakness. We saw this being exploited before the Ivo Barniewski fight, and Ivo Barniewski just confirmed all of my suspicions about the leg kick against Junior Tafa, and yeah, man, it's bad. It's bad. It's horrible. Next fighter on the tier list, we have. Should I do it? Ah, fuck it, I'll do it. It might be a little bit racist, but fuck it, I'll do it. Ding 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 ding. Zhang Mingyang. This guy's a fucking Alonzo Manifield victim, dude. This guy's a fucking Alonzo Manifield victim. You know what? Alonzo Manifield victim isn't even that bad. This guy's a fucking Johnny Walker victim. And that's where the chinny legs point comes in. This guy got leg kick TKO'd by Johnny Walker. I think that's all you guys need to fucking hear. Right? This guy was winning the fight up until then. Like, he was putting belt to ass. Might be a bit exaggerating. But he was definitely winning that fight. Pretty handedly. And then he just gets hit with a calf kick and crumbles. Dude, Zhang Mingyang fucked up all of our parlays. Because the guy cannot check a leg kick and his legs are chinny. Pretty much the same boat as Junior Tafa. Slightly better, but still the same boat as Junior Tafa. And yeah, I'll be putting him in the same tier as Junior Tafa too. This guy's fucking social credit probably decreased so horribly after that fucking Johnny Walker fight. I shouldn't have picked him against Alonzo Manifield. I just thought he was so much. To be fair, I'm surprised Alonzo Manifield didn't try to take advantage of that leg kick. I still believe that the leg kick is there against Zhang Yang, even though in that Alonzo Manifield fight, which happened after the leg kick TKO, it wasn't really there, but I still believe it's there. I believe it's there. I believe if you're fighting Zhang Yang, throw fucking leg kicks. It's gonna land and it's gonna buckle this guy. And yeah, that's all you need here. I think the fucking getting leg kick TKO'd by Johnny Walker gave it away. I think that's pretty obvious why he's being put in the major weakness tier. It's not necessarily a glass leg because in other fights he has really improved. Like he has learned how to check kicks, I guess. Against Alonzo Manifield, that wasn't such a huge problem. The problem was that the guy doesn't know how to fucking fight intelligently, I guess. So yeah, I'll be putting him in the major weakness tier. I don't think it's enough to warrant him in the fucking glass leg tier, but yeah, whatever. And now we have our second glass leg pick of this video and the final person on this tier list, Harry Hardwick. Yeah, brother, put him in the glass leg tier. This guy left in a fucking wheelchair. Can you guys hear the fucking silence? Because it was fucking loud, dude. The silence was fucking loud. If you are living in a wheelchair, dude, I don't know, man. Maybe you don't have chinny legs. Maybe, guy who left on a wheelchair. I wonder if he has chinny legs or not. I wonder. Yeah, dude. I think everybody knows Harry Hardwick has chinny. Harry Hardwick is a fucking anomaly. Because not only does he have chinny legs, he's chinny everywhere but his chin. Like, this guy is chinny to injuries. This guy is pretty much prone to injuries, except getting knocked the fuck out. Like, he broke his jaw, and the fight before that, he fucking broke his leg. And he got horribly leg kicked by Kaveh Fernandez. To be fair, Kaveh Fernandez is a good leg kicker, but he's not like a fucking Edson Barboza or anything, right? Neither does this guy have leg kick defense. Neither does this guy have good legs. And I think if you're leaving the octagon in a fucking wheelchair, yeah, dude, I think it's pretty hard to argue against a fucking glass leg tier for Harry Hardwick. Now, that was the final pick. That was the final person on this tier list. That was the final person on the glass leg tier. So, yeah, that's it. Or was it? Absolutely not, ladies and gentlemen. There's one final person left on this tier list, and that person will also be going in the glass leg tier. We have Shea Blair, or better known as MMA Shea. MMA Shea, he has a fight coming up with Barry Pimblett. It's not a fucking fight. He's having a sparring session with Barry Pimblett. If you know anything about MMA Shea, listen. I'm not even gonna explain why he's in the glass leg tier. Anybody who knows anything about MMA Shea, drop it in the comments or anything. You guys will know why he's in the glass leg tier. I'll leave it up to you to interpret that joke. And yeah, that's it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.